Please welcome my former student, Jessica Gallion.
Thank you, Miss Wellman, for having me. My story is in the form of a poem titled A Mouthful. They asked me to tell a story, told me to stand on a mountain, proclaim my Jesus, my God, Black or woman, fair or broken. These streets got blood in them and they want answers. And me, all mixed up, all gumbo and freckled face, vanilla extract trapped in the corners of my mouth. What could I possibly know about pain? After all, my skin ain't onyx, my hair ain't no fist in the sky, ain't had no dog or cop on my back, my throat. I never feel that uncomfortable, that level of tired, that kind of proud. I couldn't know what heartbreak is if I tried, but they asked me to tell a story. Told me to address the demon in the room, the mirror he holds, how all the little nothings morph into big somethings. There is a riot happening on my skin, about our skin, how I have tried to hide from myself, ask permission for my hips to move, apologize if they have broken your silence. I am tired of not fitting the mold, more upset that I have yet to realize just how much I have broken it. This little girl still wants to know why you don't want to play with her, why she can't sit with you, why she will never be dark enough for you to see her blues. They asked me to tell a story, asked to borrow my eyes in this world of injustice, want to know if my veins run blue, if they drip red when cut or shot, told me to stop blinking so damn fast. I'm sorry, it's just dirt in my eyes, it's just God in my cries. Tell me if you can breathe yet, if your body too hurts from the bending and the fighting. Can't you see my fist in the sky? These roots stretch all the way to Cameroon and back to the bayou. I think it's a hurricane named after me. My blues is as onyx as the night under the moon. I think my joy is as yellow as the light of the sun. Tell me you see me. Even with my own eyes, tell me you see me. I'm trying to tell you a story about a woman too wide for the jaws of society, too everything for the table of plenty. Where is the truth when it is one-sided? My-sided, blindsided by the rejection from my own home, the discrimination from my own. Why is love black and white? Why isn't the answers good enough when it is there in black and white or in color on TV? Why are we pretending this is news? How can I teach my daughter that her blues can burn as red as the river? Will she share my same pain? Could she dare to be seen for the black she be? Would her pain be something that is all too familiar? Nothing familiar like love, like justice, like God. Would it get me into heaven or at least out of hell? Is my back not strong enough? Has my soft not died enough? How can this woman find better tomorrows from stolen yesterdays and broken todays? Thank you.
Oh my gosh. It's just extraordinary. Your voice is extraordinary. Your wizardry with words is extraordinary. And I
Thank
see you. You ask in your poem, and to be seen, you are seen and heard. And I just, you blew me away the other night. I think you blew everyone in the room away with your words, the way you express yourself. Um, just incredible. I just am blown away by you, Jessica. I cannot believe the woman that you've become.
Thank you, Miss Wellman. I appreciate that.
And I can't wait to get your book.
Thank you. Yes, I can't wait to actually sign it for you.
Yes, I looked it up on Amazon. I think several people went and got your book after the performance the other night. So
That's very kind. Thank you.
yeah. Well, Jessica, I actually have a few things I'd like to ask you about. First, just starting with the other night. It was your first time ever performing with the Long Beach Community Theater and at the
Yes.
Speakeasy. And I'm just curious, like, what the process was for you, how you felt about coming into that space. And then if you can speak into how you felt about how you were received after you finished.
Well, I was I was nervous and excited to get the invitation. I feel like I suck at telling stories. Like my friends will tell you, like I'll like go around and like have to be like brought back in.
Yeah.
So for me, the best way to get it out is to put it in a poem, even if it's not like academia style or have a lot of structure. It's still like my way of being able to just get it out. And in reference to so I was grateful for the opportunity to share. I really did actually try to challenge myself, however, because as a creative, that's what you want to do. You want to be able to challenge yourself and present it with the opportunities to do so. So I did start combing through this poem that's in my book. It's called Double Dutch, and it speaks about just some experiences I had growing up wanting to play with other girls. And so I was like, how can I get this out in a creative way, in a way that's entertaining? And I said, you know what? So I just started writing, and then this poem is what came out. So it's like I kept trying to give you exactly what what I felt other people were going to present. And I think that's what I do a lot of times for myself. I try to at least be where others are in the room so we can have this collective and cohesive energy. So I want to always show up prepared. However, sometimes it doesn't come out the way you want it to. And you also have to respect that energy of the creativity as well. And just hope that as you present your story, the way that you can tell it, that people receive it. And I believe that that night I felt like I was received and what I had to say was received well. Um, and even one thing that I know is that even if someone may not say it, silence is a message of received as well, because sometimes you just can't find the words, or sometimes you have to really think on that and something will hit you later. So I felt like it was a beautiful exchange of creatives and stories that night.
Yeah, I love the synergy that's created between creative and the people that are receiving it. You can feel it. It's palpable when you're in the room with people, even if it's on Zoom. You can
Right.
feel it. You can feel that energy transferring. So I love that. I love the part about the other little girls not wanting. I don't love it. It hurts. I think most of us have been there at one time or another, to be on
Yeah.
the outside and to live your life feeling on the outside. That's pretty. That's heavy, and it's felt. And I was going to ask you when you wrote this poem. So you just wrote it a week ago.
Yes, I actually wrote it for the event. It was my way of just being able to be specific to the task at hand. But it definitely took a lot of reflecting to just say, like, what story can I present? I thought about expressing some things that have transpired, things that my daughter has experienced, because she'll sit down and she'll express those things, and then I'll tell her what I experienced, and then she'll go tell my mom what happened, and my mom will sit down and express her experiences. And what I've learned is the interesting thing about our personal experiences is that it also can be a universal experience too, because when you share it, you realize just how much we all are experiencing these same type of hardships or challenges in our own lives. And I think we have to just be more respectful of each other, that just because it's not as the same details are not there, just because mine happened in New York and yours happened in California, it doesn't mean that that's example. I've never been to New York, but it's just an example that some little details aren't always the best, the best thing to decide, like, hey, that's not the same, or no, you don't understand, because a lot of times we do.
Yeah, the reality is our stories connect us.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest parts is just getting people to come to the table so that we can have these kind of uncomfortable conversation. But when
Yeah.
we're in these uncomfortable spaces, that's where we can grow. If we're open to it, if we listen and take it in and we're willing to learn and apologize and then take action, like move forward. It's not just a hearing and then letting it just be and like it never was. It's doing something with what you've learned.
I agree.
So since I was your teacher many years ago, I was reading an article recently that was titled something about it was something about like white teachers in schools of color. And of course, I'm thinking of myself because if you remember, our population was majority Black. There was a percentage of Mexican. And then over the 10 years I was there, there was maybe 10 white girls, maybe. And that is pushing it to say that there were 10 over 10 years. So, I did think back to being a teacher there. And if I let you girls down, um, and just my part in all of this, of what is being brought to light right now. And I had you for performing arts. Did I have you for both dance and theater?
Yeah.
I had you for everything. Yeah.
And
So
then we also partnered together when we wrote our senior, I think we wrote a senior play together. So
yes,
yeah, our
yeah,
senior play, yeah.
yeah. We wrote two while I was there. One was called Flip the Script, and the other one was called Home. Was
Flip the
yours
script,
Flip
flip
the
the
Script?
script. Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting about that is the whole reason we wrote it is because it was very hard to find plays to do with all female, all minority cast. So,
Yes.
and we would do anything. We'd have the girls play boy parts. We do
Yep.
whatever it was. We would just rise to it. But writing that play was really cool because we brought in cultural elements and yeah. I don't know. What do you have any thoughts on that? And
In reference to like, do I feel that you let us down? I don't. I never went through high school saying like, dang, Miss Wellman just left us to just figure it all out. I never felt that way. Like when I got old enough to feel, and I saw you on Facebook, I was like, will she even be my friend on Facebook? Like, is that even something that you can do as a student teacher? Like, I don't know. But I thought the highest of you and think the highest of you. I think that as a performance, I think that in our day-to-day lives, regardless of what position that we are in, we we are there to provide a service, and we are there in a lot of ways. Sometimes our hands can be tied as far as what we can do, what we can't do, or how far we can go. But I felt like there was always space for us to do things. I learned how to merengue, I learned how to swing, I learned hip hop dance. I felt like we experienced so many different cultures through art and dance, and
yeah,
be able to take on those feminine roles, to take on those masculine roles. I think you played a huge part of that. And I don't recall any productions that took place during the 4 years that I was there that the seats were empty. Like I felt like every production was hardworking. Girls signed up for different roles. People wanted to be backstage. People wanted to be in the front. You allowed me to do poetry. We danced to Fever. Like I felt like there were so many things that we were able to explore. We had representation of a lot of cultures, different clubs that were there and present in ways that we could acknowledge each other through Catholicism. So even though a lot of people say like politics and religion, but I felt like St. Mary's, and this is just my experience. Who knows how other girls of different ethnicities felt? But I can say for me, I felt like because of what I experienced at St. Mary's through a lot of the openness but within same reason, based off of principles and what the school itself represents, I do believe that there was a lot of room for individuals to be seen and heard. Again, we were at a Catholic all-girls school, so it's like it's only so much you can do, but I felt a lot of liberty. Girls were able to go away to another country to study with Miss White. And I mean, the opportunities that we had, I felt were great. Were there some things that maybe as students that we may not have agreed on, or sometimes you felt helpless or not seen? I mean, we were teenagers, so I'm sure, like myself, other young girls felt like bad days. I mean, I felt like my class, we fought a lot for us to have certain things that maybe other classes didn't have before. You know, for whatever reason, those red and white Adidas and gray pants were just so important, you know, giving us a voice. And they just didn't give it to us. We had to explain why, and we got it.
You
So
got it.
we got it.
And you
So,
look good.
and we were good. I mean, Ice Cube came to school and watched us dance to, you know, it just, that was those were just memories that I shared, you know, being part of productions, and you were part of that. And I felt that you tried to incorporate as much culture as you could so that everyone could experience things. So that's my experience. I can't speak for the entire student body of St. Mary's while they were there, but I don't feel that you did. But I can understand where your concern would be as a teacher, as a parent at this, you know, how can I be better? So I think it's beautiful that that question is there, because it just shows that you're doing the work too. You know, we're all trying to figure out how we can be better, what we could have done better in our lives. And so that, I think that's a great question, but I felt like there was an array of representation and things being done that could be done.
Yeah. It's interesting because one day in class, I don't know if you remember, we used to do on Fridays, it was called the Dirty Dozen, where you had to pass off different skills along the way. And one Friday, a gal did a poem, and part of her poem was fight the power, and putting her fist up. And I remember just asking her, can you explain to me the fight the power? Now, and I have, of course, have heard of fight the power before. At that point, I had already, you know, heard of that, but I wanted her to put words behind what she was saying when she was putting her fist up and saying this. And we ended up having a discussion in that class about what that meant, and the white man. And you know, I told the class, you all realize that I am white, right? And there was a collective gasp from the class. And I laughed. I'm like, what do you think I am? And the Black girls thought I was a mix of white and Black. The Mexican girls thought I was a mix of white and Mexican. And I remember just being like, really? It's, you know, and it's because we see I'm guessing, but I think it's because we see each other in each other when we know each other. That's the only thing I can come up with as to why that conversation even happened. But I've never forgotten that conversation. Of being,
I've been there too. Like, people, when someone feels like they can identify you, you're right. Like, if we can, and to me, like, for you to have that experience, to me, should answer your question as far as representation in the space that you held. It sounds as if like no one walked around like, yeah, that white teacher, you know you white, but nobody was reminding you that you was white. The same way, in the way that some of these people of color are reminded daily of their ethnicity, of their skin, of their experience. And that's why I say, being a Black woman, Creole woman from Louisiana, living in Los Angeles, I will never experience the type of injustice that my fellow brown skin sisters and brothers are having, and will probably continue to have until we can get this right. Even my nephew, my sister's son, is a chocolate red. And him and I grew up together with my mother. And so it's like, I know, like when that emoji line of the fist, like that's what my family looks like.
Mm.
And I know that's a reason for people to say you don't see color because my family looks like that, but that's why I actually see color because I see representation in so many ways. And I'm like, to myself, that's what I grew up with, but not a lot of people do. And
Yeah.
we think that how we grow up is how other people grow up too. So
Yeah.
when you're hit with that lack of culture or that lack of knowledge or experience, you like, what's up with this? And how is it that how are people so blinded by it? Why are we not more sympathetic and even empathetic toward each other? Because at the end of the day, you know how you want to be treated, and you know if you treat it wrong, you know what that feels like. So why would you want to do it to someone else? You know, and so no one is perfect. We're all human. There are certain things about my culture that I am still learning that I didn't learn in high school. I'm like saying to myself, well, why didn't I learn about this?
Yeah.
Even when I went to private school, my mom paid for my education. Why wasn't it in the books? And why didn't I know?
Yeah.
But just like God, you have to seek knowledge. You have to seek God. You have to learn God for yourself, and you have to learn things for yourself. It's not everyone's responsibility to teach you. You have to try to advocate for your own intelligence as best as you can. But until you know, you don't know.
Yeah.
But once you know,
Do better.
you do
Do
better.
better once you know. And that's the thing. I agree with you. And up until this point, that has been the case. But we have to do better for your daughter, for your daughter's daughter, for my kids. It
Yep.
needs to be taught in school. All parts of history, all cultures need to be taught as part of the learning. Now we know. So now we
Yes.
need to change. So yeah, I appreciate all of what you just shared. It's I hear it, and I personally am ready to do some work, and I know a lot of others that are also willing to work towards change. So I truly hope change is coming because it cannot continue the way it has been. Eyes are opened now, and now people do see, now people do know, and now we need to do better and do more. So
I agree. And I think that as we continue to see things like you know when something isn't right. A lot of times people are able to look over things because it's not happening to them. And that you can take that across the board in so many experiences, poverty, you know, cancer. Oh, I don't have cancer. I can only imagine. But it doesn't mean that you can't support individuals just because the police are not coming after people who look like you. It doesn't mean that it's not wrong. It
yeah.
doesn't mean that you can't do something about it. So I don't know if those examples make sense, but
Oh yeah.
I'm just thinking of ways that we don't always identify with something, but it doesn't mean that it's not right. It doesn't mean that we can't do something about it.
Absolutely. I remember something you said the other night. And I'm wondering because I don't remember the full statement of it, so maybe you can remind me. But you said this sentence, which was, "Can't I just be?" You were talking about, I think, just getting some fries or something, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I believe MJ was sharing the story about what happened, and I just kept saying like, isn't it amazing how some of these things that happen are just when people are just trying to just be, riding the bus or minding your own business. You're at work or you're at school or you're hanging out with your family. Like sometimes you just want to just be, and a lot of these things are happening where people are just being, sitting in the car with their girlfriend, with their kids, walking to the grocery store, getting Skittles, getting something to drink, whatever. I don't, it's just amazing how a lot of times things happen when we're just trying to just be by ourselves, walking in the park, someone feels offended by your presence, and Yeah, a lot of times things happen when you're just trying to just be sleeping in your house, minding your own business. It's just unfortunate. People project their things onto you, what they think you are, what they know you to not be, or what they feel like they know you are.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Uh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you. I want you to know you are always, always welcome at the Long Beach Community Theater. I would love to hear more from you, and I know I'm not alone in that. So please come back. Please share whenever, if you see I'm putting up a topic and you're like, oh, I got something to say about that. Your poetry does read like a story, and it's your story, and it's beautiful, and you are beautiful, and I'm just so proud of you, Jessica. I cannot, you knock my socks off. You just, so proud. Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Woman. I appreciate you. Thank you for the space. And who would have thought? I remember you put in on Facebook how you wanted to create this collective and bring it all together. You were thinking about names to call this and how all of that, and just to see how it's grown and how much of a pleasure it is to the community. And now I had the opportunity to be part of it. So thank you.
My first student to ever perform at the Speakeasy. So cool. All right, let me
Thank
hit
you.
the record here.